Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, was caught lying in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee today during a hearing on global threats. Now, this was in relation to Pete Hegseth's recent leak of classified information on a Signal group text chain, which included a reporter from The Atlantic, classified information on Houthi targets just hours before the U.S. military was set to strike them. All classified information. But when Tulsi Gabbard was asked about the group text that she was on, she flat out denied that any classified information was released.
Did you contact the Defense Secretary or others after this specific military planning was put out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a skiff?
There was no classified material that was shared in that.
So then if there was no classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security. Bobbing and weaving and trying to, filibuster your answer. So please answer the question. If this was Director Gabbard, if this was a rank and file intelligence officer who did this kind of careless behavior, what would you do with them?
Senator, I'll reiterate that there was no classified material that was shared in that.
Ma'am, if there's no classified materials, share. And then if there's no classified materials, then you can't even answer the question whether you're on the chat. This is strangely familiar, and I think my colleagues will remember, when you couldn't answer the question, is Edward Snowden a traitor?
It got even more embarrassing for the Trump administration and Republicans when Senator Tom Cotton, the Republican chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, tried to step in and save Tulsi Gabbard from her own lies. And that's when Democrats stood up and spoke up and called Cotton out and Tulsi Gabbard out for lying.
I've been around this for a while. This is not information you generally put out. And the notion there's not even acknowledgement of, hey, gosh, we screwed up, is stunning to me. And the idea somehow, well, none of this was classified, but we can't talk about it here. You can't have it both ways.
I think the witness's point is that they can't speak for every official in the government who has original classification authority.
Chairman, I don't, that's not what I'm not trying to litigate that. I'm trying to litigate on the face unless, as Senator Bennett said, this reporter is somehow making this all up. And I think the White House has acknowledged that the text chain that he submitted was authentic. It strains my mind to think, again, it strains my mind if the shoe had been on the other foot, what my colleagues would be saying about this. And again, we're going to get to the bottom of it. And I appreciate your comments, but you guys have both testified under law. There's nothing classified in that information. There was nothing, in a sense, I've not heard either one of you say, gosh, we screwed up. So we'll find out. This is too important to our national security. And again, I know we've got more members to cross.
They testified, is my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that there's no intelligence community classified information. Is that correct?
That's
Director
correct.
Ratcliffe, is that correct? Director Gabbard?
Yes, Chairman.
Well, again.
That's not correct. She said repeatedly there was nothing classified, period.
Right, period. You can't have it both. And again, we'll see. I cannot believe this is not going to come out. And if it's not classified, again, we'd ask you to give it to the public today. I'm sure one of your aides back there probably got it on paper. If you got it here, it's not classified, stand by your position. Or is this just one more example of a careless approach to how we keep our secrets in this administration?
Now, of course, we're going to see this text chain eventually because Jeffrey Goldberg, the reporter from The Atlantic, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, has the text chain. Now, we already know what was on it because Goldberg went on to CNN last night to discuss the text chain with Caitlin Collins.
Nobody was texting war plans. Given you were privy to this group chat, is that how you saw it?
No, that's a lie. He was texting war plans. He was texting attack plans. When targets were going to be targeted, how they were going to be targeted, who was at the targets, when the next sequence of attacks were happening. I didn't publish this, and I continue not to publish it because it felt like it was too confidential, too technical, and I worry, honestly, that sharing that kind of information in public could endanger American military personnel. But no, they were plans for the attack. And they were texted before the attack.
And there were things texted that you viewed as so sensitive, you did not even publish them in your report today.
I made the decision that the technical aspects of this, including what kinds of weapons packages, the attack sequencing, and so on, that's not necessarily in the public interest. What's in the public interest is that they were running a war plan on a messaging app and didn't even know who was invited into the conversation. I mean, it's an obvious, ridiculous security breach. And, you know, he if you notice, he didn't actually answer the question.
But his attempt at a denial also stood out to me because no one that I talked to at the White House today argued this or tried to say these were, you know, misconstrued or altered or this is not real. I mean, the National Security Council confirmed the veracity of it.
Yeah, the National Security Council, I asked various officials, including Pete Hegseth this morning, for comment. And the first question I had for everyone, is this real? I wanted to make sure, obviously, before we go public, and say, are you sure that this is not a disinformation campaign run by a foreign state, a non-state actor of some sort, trying to target a journalist for reasons I couldn't explain? And they're like, no, this is apparently a real channel, and I appreciate them telling the truth about that, and we published.
Did they seem alarmed when you reached out for comment?
Probably is not the happiest day that they experienced in the White House so far, but they were professional about it.
I thought that as you were kind of walking through when this began, you weren't even sure if it was real yourself. You thought maybe I'm being spun or conned or something's happening here.
Until the day that I received the attack plan from Pete Hegseth at 11:44 a.m. that Saturday, March 15th, and then saw the attack plan said that 1:45 p.m. Eastern time, that the first bombs would be dropping in Yemen. Until that moment, until that period elapsed, the 2-hour period between that text and the first bombs being dropped, I thought it was a hoax. I thought somebody was trying to entrap me. Again, could it have been a foreign intelligence service? Could it have been a gadfly organization that tries to entrap journalists, which we know happens? I didn't know what it was or who it was, but what I did know was that the obvious answer was that this is a real conversation of the national security leadership of the United States. Seemed improbable to me because why would they do it on Signal? Why would they do this on a messaging app? And why would they invite the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic to watch?
And how many people were on this chat?
18.
And did any of them at any point when you were included in here ever raise that question, why are we talking about this over Signal?
No, nobody raised the question, why are we talking about this over Signal? And nobody said, hey, who is JG? You know, because you show up in a little bubble as your initials. And no one at any point said, who's JG? And when I withdrew from the group, you formally remove yourself. You hit a button. It says JG has removed himself from the group. I assumed that somebody would say, hey, who just removed himself from the group? Nothing.
You didn't hear from Mike Waltz or anyone else after that?
No, nothing at all. I mean, it's a level of incuriosity. I guess that's the polite way of saying it. It's a level of recklessness that I have not seen in many years of reporting on national security issues.
And so you eventually remove yourself from the chat.
Right. Once I was sure that it was real.
But after you've seen everything, I mean, you published these messages.
Well, I don't know what I haven't seen since then. But yes, I removed myself and I started writing the story.
That's fair.
In order to expose the security breach.
And some White House reporters today were saying, maybe I would have never removed myself from that.
You know, these are tough questions. But I can't go into it, all the decision making involved in this. But I found out what I needed to find out. A, that it was real, and B, that it did represent the kind of gap, the Mack truck-sized gap in their security that I could never have imagined a White House experience.
So there you have it. Trump, his administration, his cabinet, they continue to make blunder after blunder, and then when they're caught, they have to lie about it, which only makes the hole deeper for them. Now, what will happen to Tulsi Gabbard is yet to be seen. Whether or not she'll be held accountable for lying in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee. What will happen to Pete Hegseth is yet to be seen, because after all, he is one of the biggest Trump bootlickers in the entire administration. He went from being a drunk Fox News host to the Secretary of Defense because he lies for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, of course, surrounds himself by sycophants so that kind of his blunders won't look as bad as the rest of them. And he's also protected by yes men and people who he knows will lie for him, and he will, in exchange, lie for them. Now, if you want to watch Mark Warner's full questioning of Tulsi Gabbard, you can do that. I've linked the video in the cards of this video. But be sure to share your reflections of Tulsi Gabbard getting caught lying about Pete Hegseth's leak of classified information to the Atlantic reporter Jeffrey Goldberg. Leave your reflections in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to Reflect Politics so that you get my future videos delivered straight to you. Thanks for watching. My name is Brendan Plank. See you in the next video.